Science. Science. Good day, good Tuesday, September 7th. That's going to be the name of my streams now, just the date. What's going on, guys? What's going on, Robert? Big Pete, Ola, Bob. Epic thumbnail, I know. It's hard to come up with new things, obviously. There's only so much you can do in that frame. Meister Bear, hello. Dutch Gravy, ML. Yeah, it's probably the best title format because everything's searchable. So, coming up with fancy titles, you know, if someone needs to find something and someone wants to share it, you just say, "Oh, search that date." I mean, I think so. I'm not sure. Saw Jim Bob who spells his name Gem Bob. Makes sense. Blind me with science. I like your songs. I jam too. Thanks. Yeah, it's fun jamming. Bob. From one Bob to another Bob. Um, yeah, I love playing music. Music is one of those things that I see comedy, animation, basically distilled versions of you know, truth or distilled down, bite-sized morsels. A song could be a bite-sized especially mine because they're all unfinished. But it's within my expression to do small bits like that. And so songs I think go in the same category as like a meme. Um, I think like once you get like short story or movie length, you basically expand beyond the range of attention that most people have. So first time live. Oh, hey Christian, welcome to your first time live. Can you do a Biden? Come on, man. I put more kids in the ground than any other guy. Come on, man. I passed a bill, passed bill, put more blacks away than any crime bill in history and presidency, man. Come on. Come on, man. Look at all the dead kids, man. Gun-free zones, man. Who you thinking? Who's the guy? Who's the guy who passed that, man? I only wrote one song. Hey, sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes that's all you need. It's close to a JLP voice. That's funny. So I was looking at. There's this Shill guy. His actual name is Shill on the chats, but his name is I think Sean Hawking. He has his own very sad YouTube account, but he just posted. He just started trolling me, and I guess he's this like pro NASA. His whole identity is fighting like flat earthers. So he'll just be like, he'll attack people. Even if you attack some form of pseudoscience currently, he'll just respond with some other argument. He's completely insane. But I invited him to come and listen to the stream because he started talking about um, Cavendish and stuff. Yeah, Sean Hawkins. Yeah, he's basically like, Stephen Hawking got his face together. Um, but he's talking about Cavendish, and I was telling him that's not a valid experiment. It doesn't isolate anything like gravity or anything like that. And so basically, Cavendish is an experiment back in like the 1780s or something like that. Um, where this dude who allegedly weighed the Earth, which is hilarious, came up with an equation, invented a G, and then a value for G. And then he said, "Oh, let's do more stuff consistent with this equation." So the Cavendish experiment, which is not an experiment, by the way, at least it's not an experiment that isolates any sort of gravity as a force. Obviously, it tries to assume that mass attracting mass means gravity is doing the thing, but there's so many problems. So, for those of you who don't know, um, it's basically the dude created a crossbar that can rotate, a stick essentially, tied some very thin string on each end of the stick, hung a lead ball on the end of each of those lines, equal distance from the center, as close as you can get. Think about that. In 1780, how precision can you get as far as the center, exactly the center, not just the center, but drilling the hole, attaching the apparatus that the thing is hanging from. I'm a carpenter. I'm also a jewelry maker, and I know that precision is actually most of the time impossible, even with a computer. So in carpentry, precision is absolutely necessary. At the same time, you're going to have a margin of error. The thing is, if you hang a heavy weight ball, right, at the end of a stick on either end, and you assume that you drilled perfectly center and you just wait for it to come to a standstill, right? And then this is the experiment, by the way. And then once it's standing still, you add, 2 big buckets of whatever, aluminum, sand, gunpowder, what have you, whatever. And you put them equal distance away from the 2 hanging balls. Well, the assumption that if those things eventually start oscillating and moving means that there's a thing called gravity that's doing it. Not only is that not what the experiment produces, but it assumes that this whole other slew of variables that might have an effect on that apparatus, including at that level, sound, static electricity, any sort of vibration that's connected to the apparatus, any level, any degree of margin of error, as far as where those weights are attached, how they're attached, the length at which they're attached, the strength of the string, any differential in the strength of the string itself, even the fibers of the string. Let's see what else. The kind of stick, the strength of the stick, the density of the stick at one side or the other, any sort of knots or hollowness in the stick, any difference in fiber in the stick from one end to the other. Again, the drill hole, the part at the middle of the stick where it's essentially supposed to even out the weights completely. All you need is one of many of those things or a lot of all of those things off a little bit, and all you have to do is wait. All you got to do is wait. The equation reference was F equals G M1 M2 over R squared, or R, whatever that symbol is. But again, it's like you're establishing an equation that assumes you know the mass of the Earth based on math, not by measuring, not by actually measuring, by doing equations and assuming. And then you're doing it at a microcosmic level, making the assumption that that's what's causing things to move. And then from that, you're determining the behavior and what's causing behavior of way bigger objects that you assume you know the properties of, by the way. You just assume that, the planets are properties that you can just assume. And this is in the late 1700s. So it's demonstrated, first of all, the experiment, the actual logistics of it, the pieces and the parts of it are flawed, questionable, archaic, and even the modern versions that try to do it with more precise technology, it's inconclusive. There's different times, given the duration, and so different oscillation, whatever they're observing. All you're doing is observing 2 things on a swing moving. That's all you're doing. There's no independent variable. And you ask someone, what's the independent variable? One guy will say time It's the time at which you allow them to do it, and that determines how they oscillate. No, time doesn't cause what you're observing. Time permits it, but doesn't cause it. And then one other person will say like, well, it's the mass. It's the actual mass of each of the balls and relative to the distance and the distance to the other masses that are placed there. The buckets of sand or what have you. So, well, then you're saying that gravity, what's gravity then? All you're doing is redefining mass as gravity because the experiment at best would argue that different masses, actually, no, there's still no independent variable. There's nothing inserted into the experiment and removed to determine that thing is causing the phenomena. So you're just back at square one. So even when you enhance the technology, the assumption is still not a scientific experiment. The hypothesis is mass attracts mass. That's the hypothesis. But the assumption in the hypothesis is that it's already assumed that there's this thing, this thing called gravity that's doing that. And so, yeah, if you start from an assumption and then you try to find behavior that's consistent with the assumption, it's exactly what they did with like the discovery of Neptune. They observed what they saw to be movement of a planet, Uranus, perturbations, disturbances in Uranus, and then they were like, "Oh, based on Cavendish, there's probably another mass influencing it." That's an assumption. Not only is that an assumption, but it's a further assumption to peek behind Uranus that's having a problem with its movement and see another thing and go, "Oh, that's it." That's just confirmation bias. There's no experiment. You can't remove Neptune and determine whether it is in fact the variable that's causing what you even interpret to be an irregular movement. Irregular compared to what? Every 10 years? Every 100 years? Every 1,000 years? Irregular compared to what? All you're doing is making up what you think is irregular. It's insane. These people are insane. Dr. Peterson, can we get a report from the ground in Canada?
Well, it would be, I'd be misrepresenting my situation if I were to say I was, at equal odds with the government or under the same sort of circumstances as the common peasant. It's like I've got some flats all over the world, And, I live quite well, It's like I could basically eat lobster every day, morning, noon, and night. I mean, it's almost an insult for me to comment on it. But I will. I think China has gone a little bit too far with its regulatory system. They're basically turning human beings into enemy combatants,
I just remember the equation has the same form for electric charges. I forget the name of the constant G. If we could prove gravity, the Bob would done so by now. Yeah, I mean, there's no proof of any of it. I'm a precision engineer. I work to tolerances, your correct temperature. I don't know if that's according to me. I make measuring and counting machines mechanical and digital. Are you talking about like how off something can be? I mean, that's another thing. They're like, we made a clock the clocks were different. They went slower and faster. It proves relativity. You're like, you're not observing a natural phenomenon. You're observing a man-made item that has some anomaly and difference. It's like they try to equate time with the tool that expresses in mechanical form what we call time. That's how insane these people are. They're like, look, time changed. You're like, no. There's a mechanical device and there's two of them. And there's got to be an actual physical cause for any sort of difference. And that difference might be so small that they're just, they're basically hedging their bets. They're just like, well, it's probably that, it's got to be that. It's very small. The differences are so small, but it's there. You're like, yeah, okay. Good afternoon, Milkman Bear. Greetings, JB. Went to church with my wife and babies past Sunday for the first time. Warm welcome in from the community. Hey, welcome. That's cool. Drilling Uranus is gay. But yeah, I'm wondering where that guy is now. I asked him to come by. He was like, I'm gonna do a video review of your channel. Okay. Keep in mind, I know how to animate. One of the New Jersey venues I used to play at regularly is now requiring C tests for entry to. Yeah, I mean, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, you know what I mean? Everything about these procedures are basically antithetical to all of the things we do to feel vital. In other words, the purification, the sterilization of all things is actually an element that removes what gives us like the experience, the conditions, the environment of, in a way, some level of insecurity, some level of rawness, So when you go to a concert, that's a part of it. It's like, it's not, you're not going into a waiting room. It's what someone can throw a bottle. Like, it's partially not entirely predictable, including the music, including your experience that you might have from the music. But the sterilization, the irony is that these people who want these things and also want to push these requirements are Dave Grohl, are actually removing all of the elements that make those things what they are. You think we just go to watch you play the, guitar, Dave Grohl? Like, as long as the Foo Fighters are playing and people are in the building, then the experience is the same regardless of what you require of the people. No, you're wrong. You're wrong because we don't go to those places strictly for the setup, strictly for the physicality of what is going on, And to prove that, go to a place, go to a fancy lounge bar and go find the lights. Go find the lights and turn them on. It's proof that what you value when you go to those places is not identical to the actual thing that's happening there. It's something else. And they're removing that. They're sterilizing it. It's funny. It's like there's sterilization happening all around us, and it's to a lot of people it's happening inside the body, and the result is that it's the physical environment is mirroring what people are willing to do inside their body, and so inevitably you lead toward these like Attica, Gattaca, whatever, all of these, like, the Brave New World, where everything's so controlled and sterile. It's insane. Paul C, $10. Thanks, Paul. Hey, Jim Bob, what do you think about the authors Ryan Holiday and I don't know them? I'll look them up, given that you just give me a super chat about it. But I haven't read them or seen. I have never even seen the names. If everything is too easy in life, one will never seek higher meaning. Yeah, I mean, it's the mouse experiment, and they will though. They will seek. I guess that's the inversion. The sentiment is true, what you just said, but the reality is not true. It's that once that passes and you dull people and you demoralize them, one, the truth never goes away, and two, our spirits and our desire to know God never goes away. And this includes atheists, by the way. Everything there are truly wicked who desire to move away from God, but in a way, you can't desire to move away from God or act against God unless you presuppose or you have some level in faith that there's something legitimate that you're going against. That's the irony of atheism. A true atheist would be just totally indifferent. There would be no acting against God or religions. There would be no arguing against those things. They would merely, as I said on the last stream, just be a symptom of evolution, man. But yeah, I get your point. Concerts have always been my way of socializing. I'm thinking about having shows at my house. Yeah, I mean, that's what's so cool about it, is like, instead of whining about the places, you take it as a notification. You go, it's like a notification in your inbox. You're like, bing, hi, you used to know us as this place. We're no longer that. But to argue they ought to change it, I mean, you might have some weight if the people speak. There is some influence with some mobs. The mob collective mentality and pressure obviously can go either way. And so there are examples of those places having pressure. Speaking of Jimmy James, that venue we went to, where they're doing what they think they ought to based on some sort of social pressure or some sort of coercive pressure from the local or city government. And so I bet there's a time, like a threshold in which you can alter that, some sort of critical mass. And then if it becomes normal and they don't lose out and they can continue in some new, uglier, sterile, boring way, they'll probably do that. So, but otherwise, it would be equivalent. Being disappointed is normal. Heartbroken. There's a part of our nostalgic part of us that remembers cool things. It's like remembering a friend, where there's no real falling out, but you just kind of drifted apart. I mean, you have that with locations. You have that with memories. And so, but the reality is, if you don't create your own and figure out the alternatives and generate it, it's actually more fun anyway. Like Suburban said, like doing those other shows, like the new underground, the new cool, the new resistant, the new all of it. That's what most art ends up being anyway, cyclically. And so there's a huge opportunity, because the alternative to not building and doing it yourself and creating new venues and all these fun things that people want, and it's more exciting, and there's more that goes into it, spiritually, knowing that you're doing it for good, and that you're defying what you deem to be a smothering of humanity, a smothering of our spirit, smothering of joy. And so you can combat it, but at some point, the complaining and pointing to it, it ends up being no different than like Ben Shapiro or Crowder demanding Hollywood make more, wholesome movies. Continue to clarify reification and also the law of self-identity. The law of identity. I don't know if there's a self-identity. David, $10. Thank you. Reification. Reification is a fallacy in which you basically assume something that's abstract and intangible and non-physical to be concrete. It's also called misplaced concreteness. So reification fallacy is taking something as a concept, but you interact with it and you present it in argumentation as it's a physical thing that has a cause and effect phenomenon in the world. So metaphysical concepts don't count as reifications because no one claims that the laws of logic are physical, or that morality is physical, or that God is strictly a material entity we can grab and do these things, and numbers, math, meaning, information. A reification would be trying to assume information has a physical cause to reality. So gravity is a reification. Evolution, macro is a reification fallacy. It basically takes concepts that are abstract, intangible, and fantastical, and it inserts them into the physical reality without any proof of causation. That's reification. I was getting into it with some people, and they really think that is the right thing to do. But of course, they can't clearly ground what is right besides their baseless faith in scientific. Yeah, they don't know what's right. They're arguing what's preferable. They just want their little convenience. That's the difference between most people in this scenario, is that a lot of us initially yearn for our conveniences. We just like, this is so annoying. Like, I can't believe you're doing all of this, making it so hard for people to just do their normal routines. And most people, I don't know if it's most, at least the people we are aware of, because to be fair, we're not as present to the people who are just like, whatever, dude, this is nonsense, I'm getting around it, I'm gonna still continue to flourish. We notice all the weak people because that's where we're at. Our arguments and our stances are for something, and naturally we see the opposite everywhere. And so, but most people went back right to the convenience. They were like, I want my appetite served. I want my conveniences. This is the right thing to do. Back, for everyone, the greater good. They go right to the greater good. And most of the time, the greater good will not correlate directly with comfort. Actually, no, it's a shortcut. It's almost like everyone's saying, "Come on, we have a destination over there. Let's just take this quick shortcut." But the shortcut's a trick. It's a Faustian deal. Come on, guys, just take the one. We'll get back to normal. Oh, take the 2, take the 3, take the 4. They don't see the trick because they're only seeing as far as their appetite allow them to see. And if someone's like that, they're basically a rat. There's cheese in front of them. There's cheese. And that's all. Oh, look who graced us, you guys. Sean Hawkins, you know more than everyone. You're my new hero. Oh, God. Well, I'm going to treat you kindly. Sean, welcome to the chat. Hey, Banjo Bear. Second, a third, a fourth, a fifth. 4 is probably best. Yeah, 4, 5. No, it's going to go into popsicles. I call them shotsicles or jabsicles. They're going to sell little gummies. I mean, basically, the Karunka is going to be in all the dispensaries. Can I make that prediction, you guys? Okay, what's today's date? September 7th. Karunka pills and gummies in dispensaries in California in the next year. Within a year. Take the Polaris challenge. No, we're not here for you to insert all your things, Sean. This place isn't about you. It's not about your site and your links. Okay? Try to participate like a normal human being. There's other people here. We're talking about other things. Maybe be a normal human being. Act like you just entered a room. You know? Would you enter a room, maybe a house party, and the first thing you do without listening to anything, you take the Polaris talent. Take the Polaris talent. Okay? You get Moderna or Pfizer? Huh, Hawking? Take the Polaris challenge. Take the Polaris challenge. Just shut up. Take the Polaris challenge. Oh, I see you guys are talking about something totally different. It probably won't go away as long as people like you keep perpetuating. What's it? What's it? You should change your name to Dawkins. When you don't follow the CDC guidelines, then it won't go away. Oh, really, Sean? What happens when the CDC guidelines change? What happens there? Ooh, the virus. Wow, dude. Well, I'm asking, how many did you get, Sean? Shart Dawkins. How many? How many did you get, Sean? You adapt? You mean adapt by you? If you believe in adaptation, then humans can adapt without taking the CDC guidelines, buddy. Take the Polaris challenge. Follow the CDC. Take the Polaris challenge. I'm Sean Hawking. Believe NASA. If you believe NASA, you will be smarter. If you follow the CDC guidelines, we can get back to normal. The new normal that includes 17 jabs in your arm. I am Sean Dawkins. Take the Polaris challenge. Polaris challenge sounds like some gay TikTok challenge. Yeah, it's probably you dump a bucket of gravity over your head. Take the Polaris challenge. Arwen, I knew you'd know. I knew Arwen would know who Sean Hawkins is. This guy's insane, by the way. I mean, not to be cruel, but he looks like a sex offender. You know? And if he is, I pray he finds forgiveness. He asks for forgiveness, but definitely looks like he's wearing a giant ankle bracelet. Take the Polaris challenge. Jim Bob, your caricature of Sean Hawkins does him too much honor. Arwen is a coward. Yeah, he has a lot of insults only. Like I use my insults like sparingly, like like Gandalf. I can't use it all the time, but I mean, Sean Hawkins thinks that gravity is a force. So gravity is a force. Take the Polaris challenge. Follow the CDC. Prove you wrong. Arwen is a coward. Prove me wrong. Obviously, you understand, proper argumentation. Opinion. Prove me wrong. Opinion. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Opinion. Take the Polaris challenge. This has been fun, but I gotta go. No, you're going to go. You don't have to. You're going to go. Because we sent you out. Take the Polaris challenge. I've got to tighten my ankle bracelet. I've seen Sean do streams, trust me, on this. Yeah, no, I've seen some video of him, Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I like chocolate. Prove me wrong. Poor guy. Well, that was fast. They're all just parrots. All of them. That's why I think there's something sinister going on. Because if you find these people, whoever that guy is, McToon, that guy, basically any of these people, I'm seeing the consistency is that anybody who ends up debating, especially the shape of the earth, the nature of a reality, the nature of the cosmos, the activity, they on that side, on the NASA side, it's consistent that there's never someone who's an authorized spokesman. There's always some offshoot. The authorized spokesman never gets in the ring. It's always these like lower level characters that if you pressure them, they fall apart. And you're like, well, who's your master? Like, where are your, I want to talk to the guy who made your shoes. Why isn't he on the phone? Where's, I kind of want to be a Karen. Like, let me talk to your manager. I mean, that's how every debate I see it should end, is essentially the one challenging the current model and all their assumptions using the proper definition of science, justifying the reasonable doubt in these assumptions, pointing to the lack of experiment, not models, not math, experiment. I mean, it all comes down to one question. Let me speak to your manager. You're a legend, bro. Can't wait to get Savage Memes Volume 3. Oh, thanks. Appreciate the support. Thank you all also who bought Savage Memes Volume 3. I know the wait is a little longer than Savage 2, given all the nonsense, all the delays, all the procrastination. I'll take a third of that. But it'll be worth it, and I appreciate your patience. McToon. Oh, he has a real name, Arwen? I don't know. I think, obviously some of them get paid. There's some level of money. I don't know if it's like as deep as like some, ruling class agent that's like paying, but it's more like, oh, there's again, this is where capitalism, like I said on the previous stream, can support faulty narratives and give people income for merely playing a WWE character, the one that pays them well, and they can justify it, and they just go, yeah, but it pays well, I'm just playing a role. Meister Bear, $20. Thanks, Meister Bear. Oh, Dr. Peterson, what do you think of Julia Child's Lobster Bisque?
Well, at first I took offense to it, but it's like, the thing is, she uses a lot of butter. That's one thing I'm trying to cut back on, even though it's proven that butter is pretty much good for the body, especially good for the brain. There are children born with these brain issues, where it's like encephalitis or something, and, their brain swells in the womb, and it puts a lot of pressure on their head. And I know what it's like, bucko. But the thing is, the remedy is not vegetarian. The remedy is strict butter. In fact, the mother would often give butter popsicles, So, I'm up in the air about, what the claims about butter in the body is, But aside from that, there's only one thing that I disagree with about Julia Child's Bisque. It's that she cooks her lobster. And if you know who I am, you know I like it raw. It's like, oh, baby, I like it raw. Oh, baby, I like it raw.
I hope that answered your question, Meister Bear. I just finished the puppets for Ben Shapiro. You guys, it's so funny. I don't want to ruin it. It's just so funny. I made some very important changes to Ben Shapiro's little body and finished Jordan Peterson. And I'll be adding ongoing little elements here and there. But I have the first format down. I have got the room. And so I'm almost ready to start recording my first episode. What was tentatively called Back to Work, which is Jordan Peterson Goes Back. But I decided it's more appropriate, being that the kinds of people I'm going to put into this show, the show being Jordan Peterson Goes Back to Psychotherapy, and he's the person, he's a professional, and then he has the clients. But the clients are also professionals in their fields, and the concept of professor, professional, someone who professes to be an expert, these kinds of things. Because of that theme, I've decided to call it professionals. Why? Because I've just said why. I think it's perfect. I could see like the typeface, how it's written across the title, professionals.
Well, baby, I like it raw.
M1 Bear, thanks for crushing Telegram. Yeah, people want me to go there. I just can't do it. It just reminds me of every mass text group chat I've ever been in, where you're just like, ugh, get me out of here. The primary tool of the professional is the couch. Exactly. It's going to be great. I already have like these funny concepts that I'm writing down in a notebook, or my notebook on my screen, my Black Mirror. But one funny thing is when I do Neil Tyson-ish mustache, and he's sitting on the couch, and Jordan Peterson's going to be like,
I haven't really thought much about gravity or the bending of space-time,
And then Neil Tyson-ish mustache is like, well, he's like, Peterson's like,
to my knowledge and everything I know about philosophy and metaphysics, it's the best of my assumptions that that time and space are merely conceptual, and that combining them into one word doesn't necessarily make them physical,
And then Neil Tyson-ish mustache goes, well, think about time, space-time as a sheet of paper. And then he goes, and then Jordan Peterson gets a little ticked off because he's like,
well, no, I've got to stop you right there, because what I've just said is that it's conceptual, and you're telling me to think of it as a piece of paper. Paper is physical. It has properties. We know we can bend it.
And then he vigorously is talking and being annoyed at Jordan, at what's his name, and he's folding an airplane, a paper airplane. He's like, you see,
you can fold it. You could make origami. You could make a bloody airplane.
And then right as he crescendos, he throws the airplane across the room, and it flies into 2 Jenga towers. And then the Jenga towers fall down to the ground. And then Neil Tyson-ish mustache is really worried because he thinks it's going to go into 9/11 territory. Peterson will go from the confusion and the ordinary back and forth ping pong with himself, but he'll go from very sad, breaking down, to these highs, which I believe he actually is bipolar, and has manic and depression. So he goes in these manics, and he freaks out on the people, and they're just merely trying to express what they go through. Obviously, none of these people will connect with their emotional state, which is the design of the psychotherapy, which is funny because they're just constantly talking about their normal scripts. And then maybe sometimes, Ben Shapiro will, access some emotion and be like, ah, and then he goes right to holding his tummy.
You know?
Do you mean physical puppets or an animation? Oh, it's an animation program. Uh, it's Adobe Character Animator. It's a really good program, but it's not great for action stuff. I mean, it might be. I just haven't mastered it yet. It's really good for my formats because it's mostly sitting people. I can do an airplane across the room. Could probably do some fighting. But the program itself is amazing, especially if you have a more powerful computer, which I don't. I run it off a Mac, but for those of you with any knowledge or background in animation, Adobe Character Animator, you basically pre-create all the puppets. You can create endless layers of the puppet. That means movements, postures, whatever, dances, expressions on the face, clothing, kinds of eyes, kinds of movements in the eyes, etc. Any kind of animation, you could have something coming out of the ear or whatever. And it's all created in sort of Windows layers where it's just folders and folders and folders. So if your computer can handle the processing and the memory and the folders, basically, once you create a scene, a background, you import the puppets, and here's what's cool about it is that there's something called visemes, and visemes are mouth movements. They're the mouth movements, L, M, ah, these kinds of things, and you make about 11 or 12 that cover pretty much all the mouth movements. And the program actually reads your face with your webcam, and if you import, not only does it read your head movements, so you can go like this, it reads when you blink, so you don't have to animate blinking. All you have to do is live record the scene, right? And make your gestures, and it doesn't get gestures, it gets blinks, it gets head movements like this, eyebrows, it tracks your eyebrows. And then but you could also import an audio file, and automatically you basically do this program where you select the puppet, and it automatically turns your audio file into the mouth movements. So you don't have to animate. You don't have to manually make mouth movements and match them with the audio. The audio does it for you. It's pretty amazing. Oh my God, I'm laughing so hard about the reference to Shapiro. Puppets, yeah, puppets could be fun, but that's a whole other thing. There's lighting, animation's in my wheelhouse. I could do it right in the computer. Often I could rip audio right from my live stream if I do an impersonation, and it'll work for an animation. It's pretty awesome. Does Jordan Peterson do streams? No, most of these people don't do streams, actually. I think they are guarded by their management, his being CAA, other people, but they're advised against it because, and this is almost, not to say that that all of them have scripts and they're shills, and it's like really easy to make those claims now, but they're advised not to be in a situation where they're caught off guard. They need prepped answers. They need to be controlled answers. They don't want to piss people off. They don't want to say the wrong thing. So their management hordes circle them like a little protective layer, and they're always getting whispered to. Don't say this. Don't comment on this. Please don't comment on that. We should probably comment on this, but don't make it too explicit. Just kind of vaguely. And they're just constantly getting wrangled. And so they're advised against not doing live stream because then they have to interact with questions. They have to interact with people. And the same phenomenon that you see with these high-level authorized characters, even in the philosophical world, the deep dark web or whatever you call it, the dark intellectual web, the Rogans, these guys, they don't do live streaming in that way, and they keep it very production based, and because it's a product, and it's not like, oh, then you'll never get confronted, you're a coward. It's more like, no, it's a business, and that protects the brand of the business, and it keeps them out of trouble. Which to them, if they want that constant stream of billions of dollars and millions of dollars, they're gonna. It's not, you know, that's what they value above saying something truthful that could actually get them, in trouble or ridiculed or called an idiot, which obviously I don't care about. Um, but you see the same thing with like Neil Tyson and Mustache. These guys never get in the ring with their opposition. The dumb people who question the current model, who question everything that we assumed about the universe. I thought that was science. I thought it was like skepticism. I thought skepticism was, you guys, imagine if everything we were told is wrong. That's the first step in skepticism. It's gone. Endless whispers from the beast. Yeah. Jordan streaming would be complete nonsense word salad. Yeah, I mean, it's enough for him to just like kind of talk with someone who's interviewing him. I mean, that one clip with him talking about sex with Ben Shapiro was, I thought it was one of those, people do those clips online, like especially with like Rogan, and it'll make it all weird with the music and the edits. I thought it was one of those.
He was like, yes, you want to be attracted, you want lust, You need it, You want a boner, But that's not all that it is, It can't be just the boner, It's like you've got to have other things,
And Ben Shapiro's just like,
I can't believe he's talking about sex. This is disgusting. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Ugh. Ugh.
It sounds awkward. Oh man, it's awkward.
Ugh.
He's just like kind of like he's so torn of how he's just like, what is this? This is, and I actually I don't expect him to. It's funny because I actually agree with that reaction, because it is kind of too much, to get that intimate and just have it all on the table in a public, forum when you're actually like well known, and you have to deal with those intricate details and stuff. So like, I bet someone told Peterson to specifically bring that up with Shapiro.
He's like, why?
And they're like, trust me, just do it.
Well, I'd like to know why.
Doesn't matter, you signed the contract.
Well, all right. I will bring it up. Hey, Ben, let's talk about it.
Do you think anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism? No, it's nonsense. The whole anti-Semitic argument starts from a faulty premise that Semitism is peculiar to Jews, and it's not. Semitism is a family of languages that are, it's probably like 7 languages. So 7 languages, 7 cultures, that are connected to the languages. It's a whole like category. And so, no, but I understand that's the first mistake people make with that word and throwing it around. I mean, it's ironic that Ben Shapiro is like,
anything that's says the truth is racist. I mean, this is blatantly absurd.
And then you're like, I think Israel should defend itself without my grandchildren's debt.
And he's like, that is equivalent to just saying you don't want Israel to exist. I mean, you want a second Holocaust. That is the thing you're saying.
You're like, you just did exactly what you said other people do about race.
Well, it's not the same. I mean, that's the thing. It's not the same.
Turnpike 1999. Keep doing your thing, man. These streams are amazing. Thank you, Turnpike. Appreciate the support. Shapiro's stutter is magic from God. Yeah.
I mean, that's all, folks. I mean, here's the thing, folks. You show me You show me. If America is more racist today than it was in the past, you show me. You tell me why. You tell me why.
There's like an 8-year-old little like commie is just like,
why is he talking so fast, Mommy? Well, you tell me why.
JB, I can only find a clip of Jordan and Shapiro talking from 2 years ago about porn. Is that the clip? No. No, that's not the clip.
Hurry up.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm being called by my daughter. Anyway, I'm glad that Sean Hawkins visited. Obviously, it didn't last very long. I hope he keeps his word and he makes a review video of my channel. But we'll see. The one dislike is from your daughter. No, it's probably from Sean and his friends. Poor guy. I'm trying to have compassion for them. Like a part of my animal side, my executioner is just like, must end, must humiliate, must destroy. Sam Harris stutter. To think that a loving, omniscient, all-knowing God would permit such suffering in the world it would be very strange if that were the case. Anyway, Sean Hawkins doesn't even understand why star rotations seem to go in the other direction when he turns around. Is that the same guy? They're like, why does it look different when I turn around? You're like, why do the cars look like they're going in different directions when you cross the street? What? Anyway, what was the Polar Challenge thing? I don't know. Go to his YouTube. I'll support him. Do the Polaris Challenge, he says. There's, go to his go to Sean, spelled SHAWN, Hawking, spelled the same as me, and then go do it. I don't know what it is. It doesn't answer the questions I posed to him, but I don't know. Maybe he needs money. Anyway, I gotta go. You guys have a good day. Thanks for the support. Thank you everyone who sent a super chat. Thank you everyone who bought Savage Memes Volume 3. The pre-orders. Again, if you didn't get to the pre-order, it just means you don't get the sticker pack. But the actual book is still available. Made by JimBob.com. And then for those of you waiting on paintings, I've got a bunch that are being finished up today and tomorrow. So again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your patience. Thanks for all the interactions in the chat. And thanks to any whiners or oppositions. I invite you into my chat. I invite you over to my places, my accounts. I will interact with you with varying levels of respect. All right? Okay.
Made by Jim Bob.